In translating the novel The Devil Wears Prada to the movie The Devil Wears Prada, I felt it was actually important to preserve the sense in the book that you really were seeing behind the curtain of this world.
I love the idea of a coming-of-age story for a woman through work.
Was this job for a woman who was the assistant to the boss from hell.
This job was very exciting to people to see inside this world.
I can get another girl to take your job in 5 minutes. One who really wants it.
And I think that the world is such a fun, exciting, sexy world.
And it's a fine line that you walk when you do an adaptation of a best-selling book.
I first got involved with Devil Wears Prada when Wendy Feinerman sent me the script. They'd been working on the script for 2 years.
I like to say I stalked David Frankel. I don't know if he had mentioned this, but for 10 years I've been chasing David Frankel, ever since Miami Rhapsody, to find something. I think he's one of the most talented, collaborative directors that I've worked with. What made me really attracted and interested about David was, aside from Miami Rhapsody, was his whole entire body of work. You know, from Band of Brothers to Sex and the City, he really can kind of do anything.
Wendy was very aggressive about convincing me to take a new look at it and to talk about it and to examine the flaws. I went to meet with the executives at Fox 2000 and I said, I love this world and I especially love this character, Miranda Priestley. And they said, great, what do you want to do with it? And I sort of described how I wanted to change the tone. I wanted to make a movie that really explored the world of fashion journalism, but more importantly, studied these characters. So they said, great, find a new writer and get started.
First challenge, I think, was the real tone in terms of writers. Nobody could quite find the right tone. We went from some tones to being broader, others some quirkier, some really out there.
4 screenwriters had worked on it for a couple of years. It was a funny script. I went back and reread it, and I was going to talk to Wendy about making it, and I realized the tone of it was completely wrong, and it lampooned the world of fashion, and it wasn't respectful toward the character of Miranda Priestley, and I changed my mind completely. I thought, I can't do this.
One of the things that made David such a perfect fit is he really kind of saw the script in the same way that I did, both in what the problems were with the existing script and what the potential could be. And we needed to find a writer who could kind of express and put from pen to paper and help us solve those problems. And Aileen came in and she just had all the perfect answers in our first meeting.
They asked me to just come in and pitch my take. So went in and had a meeting, and David and I seemed to hit it off pretty well and have a similar vision for what needed to be done with the movie.
I just instinctively felt that she had insight into, especially the character of Andy. Aileen was the first woman to work on the adaptation of the book, and she had lived through Andy's experience, and she really related to everything that Andy was going through, and she just had a great handle on how to adapt the book.
I just thought it was an opportunity to tell a story about a young woman's coming of age in New York, which was also something that I had experienced. And I love the title, and I thought it was an exciting project and could be really fun.
Hi, I have an appointment with Emily Charlton. Andrea Sachs? Yes? Great. Human Resources certainly has an odd sense of humor. Follow me.
I think the intentions were always the same. I don't think that they were realized with all of the writers that were there, and Aileen was able to realize them.
And we wanted to sort of, pull out the most relatable story that we could, so that men, women, people who've never been to New York, that everybody could recognize something of themselves in their own journey.
We reconceived the whole structure of the screenplay, and the characterization and the tone of the script changed dramatically in her work.
The book gave us a lot of material. When you're dealing with something from scratch, you don't always know how an audience is going to respond to something, and at least in this case we had a little sense of that people had connected to these characters, and we wanted to honor that and preserve that.
The script never could be funny for the sake of a joke. It had to be funny and rooted in reality, and funny rooted in character.
Miranda sacked the last 2 girls after only a few weeks. We need to find someone who can survive here, do you understand?
Yeah, of course. Who's Miranda?
David and I both felt that the important part was that we are with Andy on her journey. People could say, even if I never worked in the fashion world, I felt that way when I was young, and I had that first job and I had that first boss.
And you have no style or sense of fashion?
I think that depends on what you're...
No. That wasn't a question.
On page 3 of the book, you're going, quit. It's terrible. That was great for the book, but it wouldn't work at all in the movie. So we had to actually change Andy from someone who didn't want to be there into someone who wanted to be there and who was seduced into the world.
We really wanted to make sure that we always see her as trying really hard. And one thing that's it's incipient in the book, but it's not as present, is this sense of how far she's pulled morally.
Miranda Priestley says, "You remind me of me at your age." You know, she's on a path toward being someone who's made sacrifices so deep that they've transformed who she is. A lot of that is not in the book, and I think that's what gives the movie its comedy and also its dramatic weight. People are talking about which belt buckle looks better, or you know, which eyeglass frame, or which bracelet, or that this cut is fabulous and this fabric is lovely. They can sound very silly, and it was important to us to express in the screenplay, one, respect for that decision making, how fashion is important to all of us, and ultra important to the people who are working in fashion journalism, and that it is possible to take it seriously without laughing at it.
I see. You think this has nothing to do with you. You go to your closet and you select, I don't know, that lumpy blue sweater, for instance, because you're trying to tell the world that you take yourself too seriously to care about what you put on your back. But what you don't know is that that sweater is not just blue, it's not turquoise, it's not lapis, it's actually cerulean.
And what we do is we explain the journey of a fashion item. And we explain how you start with a certain color and it's handpicked by the editors of a magazine and it becomes an it item, and then it travels and ultimately where it ends up.
In 2002, Oscar de la Renta did a collection of cerulean gowns and showed cerulean military jackets. I think we need a jacket here. And then cerulean quickly showed up in the collections of 8 different designers. And then it filtered down through the department stores and then trickled on down into some tragic casual corner where you no doubt fished it out of some clearance bin. However, that blue represents millions of dollars and countless jobs. And it's sort of comical how you think that you've made a choice that exempts you from the fashion industry when in fact you're wearing a sweater that was selected for you by the people in this room.
One thing we both really felt strongly about was that Miranda should be a real formidable woman who's been successful, and what that means.
I thought you would be different. I said to myself, go ahead. Take a chance. Hire the smart fat girl.
The character in the book is demanding and mean without any kind of seductive qualities. Meryl herself personally is very seductive.
Miranda, about last night,
I need the new Harry Potter book for the twins.
I'll go down to Barnes & Noble right now.
We have all the published Harry Potter books. Twins want to know what happens next.
You want the unpublished manuscript?
Well, we know everyone in publishing. It shouldn't be a problem, should it? And you can do anything, right?
Meryl really understood how important it was for the character to seduce and not just criticize and not just demand.
She wanted to stress the efficiency of this person and how high-performing she is, and also how tough the world is on women like that and how they're scrutinized in a different way, which I think is really true. She brought so much more to it than I ever could have imagined or written or asked for.
One copy. What are my twins going to do with that? Share?
No, I made 2 copies and had them covered, reset, and bound so that they wouldn't look like manuscripts. This is an extra copy to have in file, you know, just in case. Is there anything else I can do for you?
The intentions were to not make this one-dimensional boss from hell. This woman had to be somebody who you understood, who you could feel empathy towards.
I don't really care what anybody writes about me. But my girls, it's just so unfair to the girls.
The other thing that Aline brought to the screenplay is the sense of Miranda's vulnerability. This idea of her husband leaving her, the emotion that she betrays just for a moment in that scene. It's one more deeper peek behind the curtain. You know, we go behind the curtain into the world, and then we go behind another curtain, and we see the inner life of Miranda Priestley just for a moment.
You chose to get ahead. You want this life? Those choices are necessary.
When we had written that scene in the limousine, and I wrote, "Everyone wants to be me." And when I talked to Meryl, she said, "You know, that's not right. I don't think that's right." Because I actually don't think that Miranda is very vain. which is true. I don't think that Miranda has a sense of it's about me. I think Miranda has a sense of it's about this world.
This isn't what I want. I mean, what if I don't want to live the way you live?
Oh, don't be ridiculous, Andrea. Everybody wants this. Everybody wants to be us.
And then we had our final read-through, and Meryl got to that line, and she said, "Everyone wants to be us." And I said, "That's it. You nailed it. That's it."
My only question is, runway? You were there for less than a year. What the hell kind of a blip is that?
Learned a lot. In the end, though, I kind of screwed it up.
What this movie is, right from the start, is it's real. It's really important, the kind of movies that I get involved with are ones that everybody can relate to.
I love doing something set in the world of fashion because it's such a fun, sexy, interesting world that I think that a lot of young women are really interested in, but it's also serious business.
I think that people see the movie, they laugh with the characters, not at the characters, and you feel a little something when it's over.
You have no style or sense of fashion.
Well, I think that depends on what you're...
No. That wasn't a question.
Fashion in this film plays a huge role.
It is the film, I think, We're just adjuncts to the film. It's really... the fashion is the film.
How can I answer the question, why is fashion so important in this film? Honestly.
Fashion's something that you wear outside. It's something that's on your back. It's something that people see you with. It's something you're judged with. And I think you have to we had to take a really fine line where we didn't turn our noses up to it, but we understood it, accepted it, and also embraced it with a sense of respect.
What about accessories for April?
One thought I had was enamel, bangles, pendants, earrings.
No, we did that 2 years ago. What else?
Well, they're showing a lot of florals right now, so I was thinking I could
Florals?
do those.
For spring. Groundbreaking.
Well, it was very important for us in the beginning of the film that Andy not be an unattractive girl at all. We wanted her to be, kind of the girl next door.
She doesn't fit the mold of the way people who work at Runway normally look or present themselves. And that's a very important component piece of working on this particular ship.
We wanted her to just look like a girl you know, a girl you see on the subway, your babysitter, and so we've shopped accordingly.
Over time, though, Andy, of course, transforms herself into more of the kind of woman that works at Runway, and she boops up her appearance.
On day one, she has no idea what fashion is and isn't interested at all, and by 30 minutes in, she's transformed the way she looks, and she's transformed her view of the value of this job and the people who do it.
And then when she decides to change herself for Runway, we decided that her clothes should reflect that, and she's almost like a textbook stylish girl. She doesn't take a whole lot of risks, although some people disagree with me. I wear some pretty risky boots, but...
Are you wearing the
Chanel boots? Yeah, I am.
You look good.
What?
Oh, shut up.
My character in this, as you can see from my Star Trek type deal that's going on today, is Emily is so on the edge of fashion, she's practically falling off.
Key element in everyone's wardrobe are the shoes. Well, feet rarely make appearances in movies. So you're always struggling to, how are we going to, and I learned on Sex and the City, well, you just got to start the shot on the shoes, so there's a lot of tilting up and down in the movie. A lot of whoop down to her shoes, whoop down, up from her shoes.
I mean, New York is a fashion center.
There's no way you can do a movie about publishing and fashion without having shot it in New York. It's a character in this movie. And it would have been impossible to have made it feel as true a first experience in any world unless we had shot there.
New York was an essential part of telling the story. The opportunity to shoot in New York meant that we could be on the steps of the Natural History Museum and we could see Andy running to Smith & Wollensky and dashing through Midtown, and we could be in Tribeca and Soho and the Village, and